Okay, think of big cities in Texas, or even the United States, and this one will definitely come to mind. The Big H, Houston. But in truth, this megacity is made up of dozens of smaller cities. And today we head to one out of this world.
Kemah!
Kemah sits just 30 miles from the heart of Houston and is actually part of Bay Area Houston, consisting of other cities like LaPorte, League City, Nassau Bay, Seabrook, and Webster. But to begin our day trip journey, we must leave Earth behind.
What are you doing? It's for dramatic effect. Slow-mo looks cooler.
I kind of need those guys. So we aren't going to space today, but we are headed to Space Center Houston, the official visitor center of NASA's Johnson Space Center.
Wow.
And an incredible glimpse into what it's actually like and what it takes to leave Earth behind. Now that would be a day trip.
Oh, cool. It's the shuttle flight deck. The cockpit. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. Can you imagine knowing what every one of these buttons does? Engage laser beams. Oh yeah, sure, you know, your keel camper power isn't on, so you know, just flip that switch, it's real easy. You have to engage your A outlet, but make sure your reading is OP. Man, this is all over my head.
And that's exactly why the real rocket scientists do this, and not me. But even if you're just a lowly day tripper, the Space Center lets you get pretty close to the fun and experience what it's like on the International Space Station.
This is a typical crew stowage rack. It's like the astronaut's closet in space, and this one is yours. Oh, Chip, those are cute. Your favorite pair of choo-choo train underwear goes floating all down the module. I know. Let's talk about sleeping in space.
Yeah.
They can go to sleep in space just hanging in the air, but then they float around and they bump into stuff. So they have these sleep restraint units. The exercise is extremely important. They work out for 2.5 hours every day on the station. The waste hygiene compartment, but the astronauts call it a space potty. That's a hose and a funnel in the front of the space potty. What do you do with that, Chet?
You know, I'm probably not cooked with it.
Astronauts live on the ISS for months at a time, so these tight quarters have to have everything they need, including food. I'm not so sure I could leave barbecue behind for that long.
It's so weird to think that in space there's no floor, there's no ceiling, there are no side walls. It's just one big room and you can float to whatever you want.
The center is full of spacey goodness, but sadly, no anti-gravity room. I checked. But beyond the mock-up vessels and the space games, this place has a number of incredible historic objects from the various NASA missions, which all tell the story of how us humans got the crazy idea to go to space.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept and one we intend to win, and the others too.
So after Kennedy laid the end goal of going to the moon, NASA was put to task to figure out how to do it. And with that mission came the Mercury 7. 7 military pilots chosen as essentially human guinea pigs for the great space experiment. Mercury gave way to Gemini, where at least you had a partner, and where they accomplished the very first spacewalk. And with the knowledge from Mercury and Gemini came Apollo, and finally putting a man on the moon, which required a firepower so enormous that it gets its own building.
My goodness. Look at this thing. Wow. That's a Saturn V rocket. That's how they got men to the moon. But when you lay it down, I mean, you really tell how long this thing is. It's over a football field long, like 360 something feet. Man, TV just doesn't do this thing justice, I promise.